Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 15th of November. Now it's not even 6 o'clock in the morning, Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for a day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. Second update will be a little bit late in the afternoon or evening, if I manage to do it, for a Patreon page in which I will share additional news that will be reported by Russian media. Unfortunately, cold that I got a few days ago are not going away at this moment, and I find it difficult even to sleep. So let's say if I manage to do second update, I will for sure. But dear friends, that's why Telegram page is very helpful. During the day I do share all the interesting news that I did find on different pages. You can see link to my Telegram page under this video in description box or in the pinned comment. That's been said, let's talk about news now, and I will start with short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. So according to reports from Russian media, Russian Defense Ministry and Russian military channels, there was no significant changes on any of the sectors of the front line, although initiative is in Russian hands, and Russian armed forces are conducting local scale offensive operations almost on all sectors of the front line, maybe with the exception of Kherson region, and I will start with Kherson region when it comes to little bit more detailed analysis. So here situation is a little bit different because Kiev regime is sending more and more reinforcements towards left bank, and especially in areas of Aleshki, or to be more precise, in area of Dachi, this territory here right next to destroyed Antonovsky Bridge, and also in area of Krinky, this settlement. Yesterday afternoon Russian military channels did report that Ukrainian forces that were scattered in this forested area right next to Krinky were forced to go back to initial positions inside this small area of settlement, which is under control of Ukrainian forces. So forested area, according to Russian military channels, is under full Russian control, although because Kiev regime is sending more and more reinforcements, number of Ukrainian military personnel in Krinky is rising. At some point, I guess, number of Ukrainian personnel will reach such a level that Kiev regime will find it increasingly difficult to supply and support, and probably at that point Russian forces will begin counteroffensive operations to re-establish control over the entire bank of the river, although quite possible that meanwhile Kiev regime will try to establish a few more small footholds or bridgeheads in several other areas, in Golaya Pristan area, for example, or maybe even in Kazachi Lager area or Karsunka area. Kiev regime has enough military personnel in the right bank of the Kherson region to conduct such operations. But overall situation is under operational control of Russian forces, and nothing is happening at this stage that can influence overall situation on this sector of the front line in immediate future. When it comes to, sorry dear friends, I find it a little bit difficult to even speak because of the pain in the, I would say neck. But anyway, when it comes to Zaporizhia and South Donetsk sectors of the front line, initiative is in Russian hands in this area, and it's Russian forces that are conducting local scale offensive operations. So Rebirth channel did reported yesterday afternoon that Russian forces conducted local-scale offensive from Kopani area in direction of Rabotina, in direction of fields basically between Rabotina and Novodanilovka. And if that's the case, then I guess this operation can be also seen as a preparation of the ground by Russian side to encircle Ukrainian grouping of forces in Orekhov bridgehead. And also reports are coming in that Russian side is improving their positions in Rabotina area also. When it comes to, but overall, it's still operational pause, by the way, it's still operational pause, because at this point nothing is happening that will influence this sector of the front line in next several days in immediate future. When it comes to Soldanetsk direction, also main hotspot is Vremelsky salient, where Russian forces are trying to improve their positions and conduct offensive operations in direction of Staromayorskaya. Also, although there were some reports in several channels yesterday, several military channels, that Russian forces were conducting some local-scale offensives in direction of Urozhaine. Also, so it's quite obvious at this point that Russian grouping of forces in South Donetsk direction are determined to re-establish control over all the settlements that was lost previously during this so-called Ukrainian counteroffensive. When it comes to Donetsk direction, on the southern flank of Donetsk direction in Avdiivka area, Russian forces are improving their positions in Stepovaya direction, this small settlement. There are different accounts on different pages about future developments of the Russian offensives in the northern part of Avdiivka. Some reports are saying that Russian forces probably will continue offensives in the direction of Berdichi. Some military channels are claiming that Russian side don't really need to continue offensive in the direction of Berdichi, although Ribor, by the way, military channel, biggest military channel, quite sure that on the northern part of Avdiivka, Russian forces will establish control on Stepova and Berdichi, because from Berdichi, Ukrainian forces are conducting artillery strikes around Avdiivka, and therefore it has a strategic meaning for Russian side to establish control over the Berdichi. And also, by the way, from Berdichi quite easily can be cut with direct fire all the roads that are entering Avdiivka. And when it comes to southern flank of Avdiivka, also Russian forces are conducting offensive operations. And yesterday afternoon, some channels even did begin reporting that Russian tanks did forward units of Russian forces with the tanks did even enter vicinity of Avdiivka, although of course we are not talking about some offensive operation inside the city. It was just some reckoning force operation, I guess, because at this point we don't really have any indicators that Russian side is planning to enter city and began operations inside the town. This will probably happen in 3 to 5 weeks, as I said quite a few times in previous updates, when lack of reinforcement, lack of munition, lack of any supplies basically, and also winter conditions will begin play significant role and will further deteriorate battle readiness of a Ukrainian garrison of Avdiivka. When it comes to Bakhmut direction, northern flank of Donetsk sector, also, by the way, Russian forces are conducting offensives in both southern flank of Bakhmut and the northern flank of Bakhmut quite successfully. Andreevka and Klishchevka, according to some reports, are under Russian control at this point, and Russian forces are continuing offensives to further push back Ukrainian forces from these settlements. And also, although in my understanding these two settlements still in the gray zone, by the way, at this point, because those settlements are destroyed so much so that there is not really much left to hold on to or to establish some defensive positions. So I guess these settlements are in gray zone. And when it comes to northern sectors of the front line, we also had reported Russian side quite in insignificant scale when it comes to this northern flank of Bakhmut, did manage to improve their positions around Berkhovka water reservoir, and forward units of Russian forces are even closing into Bogdanovka settlement. Let's see what kind of reports or what kind of information will be shared with the public tomorrow from Russian Defense Ministry, if we will see confirmation that Russian forward units are closing into Bogdanovka. It's a quite possible, really. And also dear friends, when it comes to northern sectors of the front line, from Seversk to Kupiansk, initiative of course in Russian hands, and even though it's artillery duels mainly between the sides, Russian forces on daily basis are trying to improve their positions. And what is also interesting, instances when Ukrainian forces are laid down arms and surrendering are increasing quite significantly. And yesterday, dear friends, I did share on my Telegram page yet another video. This one, if you are interested, you can see, where yet another group of Ukrainian military personnel did make the right decision, laid down arms and surrendered. This happened on the northern sectors of the front line. And also, by the way, yesterday yet another video did began circulating in the internet from Ukrainian military personnel when they were, and I did share that video also on my Telegram, and in that video Ukrainian militaries were complaining that this is it, by the way, this video. And in this video Ukrainian military personnel is complaining that they have a lack of ammunition, even uniforms. Basically they are not in a condition to conduct offensive operations, and basically they are refusing to participate in the so-called mid offensives, mid assaults, or suicidal assaults, suicidal offensive or counteroffensive operations. This type of videos also did began to appear on internet almost on daily basis nowadays, which can be seen as an additional indicator that situation in Ukrainian army is deteriorating in a fast paced. And probably we would not be mistaken if we will say that armed forces of Ukraine are really close to breaking point. Although because of the fear of neo-Nazi detachment units, because of the fear that relatives of Ukrainian military personnel will be punished if they will retreat or lay down arms and surrender, and because of some probably other reasons, at this point Ukrainian units are still holding to their positions. But yet again, it's only a matter of time when they will they will learn how to deal with this fear. And once this will happen, then we will see like domino effect, when small and big units of Ukrainian armed forces just will refuse to obey orders. And this is it when it comes to short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. Operational posts mainly are holding all along the front line, with exception, we can say, of Kherson region and southern flank of Donetsk region, Avdiivka and surrounding areas. Nothing is happening at this moment that can influence overall situation on the front line. Let's talk about some other news now, and I will go at least through headlines because plenty of really interesting news. So RIA Novosti is reporting that Ukrainian media yesterday afternoon did report about explosions in Kryvyi Rog. I guess Russian side was conducting drone and missile strikes on logistical and military infrastructure of Kiev regime, and during the day Russian Defense Ministry probably will share with public additional information about these strikes. RT is reporting, by the way, that West sees Ukrainian conflict lasting 5 more years. This is according to Economist, by the way. So let me read several sentences. More and more Western leaders have reportedly conceded that Russia-Ukrainian conflict may drag on for another 5 years in a stalemate that neither side is capable of shattering. This topic of stalemate is very popular in Western media. For Ukrainian side, for Kiev regime, there may be stalemate, but not for Russian side. I did try to explain why is that. In few sentences to be said, my understanding, dear friends, is that Russian forces want to minimize casualties and minimize damage on the ground, and therefore Russian side, by using this strategy of attrition war, Russian side is trying to neutralize Ukrainian armed forces and basically forced Ukrainian militaries to lay down arms and stop hostilities on current line of contact with some minor changes on the line of contact. And this is very important for Russian side, and to be honest, Russian militaries were quite successful in this regards, isn't it? Nowadays we are seeing third Ukrainian army basically have been decimated on more or less same line of contact, isn't it? And this is important for Russian side because I just said, for example, dear friends, about these two settlements, Avdiivka and Andreevka, and Klishevka on the southern flank of Bakhmut. There is nothing left from those settlements, and the very same story is happening almost everywhere on the line of contact because of high intensity of confrontation, battles, infrastructure. Even though civilians are long evacuated from those areas, infrastructure itself on the ground is absolutely devastated, destroyed. And who gonna rebuild all this infrastructure after conflict will end? Of course, Russian side, isn't it? And that's why Moscow are not really in hurry to push forward, even if it has enough strategic reserves to conduct large-scale offensive operations immediately at any moment. Because, of course, this offensive will bring with it further destruction, further casualties and destruction. And to avoid this, Russian side is using current line of contact as much as possible to neutralize or to minimize battle readiness or battle capabilities of Ukrainian armed forces, and little by little persuade Ukrainian military personnel to stop hostilities, to realize that they have been used by Western so-called elites and their puppets in Kiev regime, and to just stop sacrificing themselves for Western geopolitical interests. And at some point, I'm quite sure Russian side will achieve success in this matter also. But meanwhile, it's just too obvious that Russian side is trying to use current line of contact as much as possible to minimize combat readiness of Ukrainian armed forces. And dear friends, yesterday, when I was watching Military Summaries channel, I did notice when Dima, host of Military Summary channel, was saying that Saturn stronghold was taken by Russian forces 5th time. At least 5th time. And he was asking questions, what is going on, you know, why these same positions are changing hands for so many times? And the answer is that Russian side is trying, as I just said, is trying to use current line of contact as much as possible to neutralize battle capabilities, military capabilities of Ukrainian armed forces. And there are many instances when they are taking some positions then retreating on previous positions, allowing Ukrainian forces to take positions in those strongholds. Then Russian side is establishing control over that stronghold again, neutralizing several units of Ukrainian forces, then going back to previous positions, and this carousel is not stopping, it's constant. And that's why there are many instances when Russian forces are conducting local scale offensive, establishing control over some territories, but then retreating to previous positions and allowing Ukrainian forces to came in, and then Russian side attacking again. That's a prime example of attempt from Russian side to use current line of contact to minimize battle capabilities of Ukrainian armed forces, so that when time is right and when Russian forces began conducting decisive military actions, there will be minimal resistance, and if that's the case, there will be minimal casualties and minimal damage to infrastructure, by the way. I hope I did explain my reading of picture. But anyway, let's continue. So, of course, economists and whoever among Western so-called elites are thinking that it's a stalemate and neither side is capable to achieve any breakthroughs or to achieve any decisive success on the battlefield. Of course, they are mistaken. Because Ukrainian side or Kiev regime definitely cannot. But Russia definitely can. And when time is right, Russia will undoubtedly begin conducting large-scale offensive operations. But it's quite interesting that this topic of stalemate become quite popular among Western media. But anyway, let's continue. RT is also reporting that Zelenskyy, in conflict with his military, did set former aide advisor to Zelenskyy, Alexei Arestovich, this talking head of Kiev regime not so long ago. And basically, this individual who did resign from his position several months ago, openly confirming in the interview with El Mundo that yes, there is a confrontation between Zaluzhny and Zelenskyy, and he probably knows this because he was advisor to Zelenskyy. So this is not the rumors that we are hearing day by day, that there are some confrontation between political and military leadership of Kiev regime, between Zelenskyy and Zaluzhny. This is a true story, and it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time, I believe, when Zelenskyy, one way or another, will be removed from office and probably forced to flee Ukraine. Let's continue. And RT is, by the way, reporting that, John Sullivan, by the way, National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, sorry, did stated basically that China is not supplying Russia with weapons to fight in Ukraine. As you know, today, on 15th of November, in San Francisco, in US, meeting will take place between Chinese and US leaders, between Xi Jinping and Joe Biden. And, well, probably not to upset Chinese side, Jake Sullivan did come up with such a statement that China is not interfering, China is not sending weapons, and basically China is great. Every other time he will be very hawkish towards China. We all understand this. He will say some crazy stuff. Some may be true, some may not, but he will definitely not be so diplomatic. But now, because of this meeting are taking place between Chinese and US leaders, he is basically retreating his own previous statements and statements of many other officials US about Chinese support of Russia's military operations in Ukraine and so on. And now he's saying that, well, China is not supplying Russia with no weapons to fight in Ukraine. Okay. When it comes to weapons, by the way, I don't think China supplies weapons. Spare parts, drones, and some that kind of stuff, probably China does. Chinese companies. Not probably, for sure. And maybe China using North Korea as a kind of backdoor to supply some weaponry, artillery pieces, shells, for example, to Russia. But this is just a guess. Officially, China is not supplying to Russia any weapons whatsoever. And to be honest, I never see on the videos any military piece, any military equipment, with exception of drones, by the way, these copters, that are produced anywhere else other than in Russia. So some Chinese equipment, military equipment, may look similar to Russian ones, but there are some, features that you can easily understand which one is which is Russian built and which is Chinese built. So I never see Chinese built armored personnel carrier or any other serious military equipment in any of the videos that I see about from zone of special military operation. But anyway, it's good that it's good that for whatever reason Washington is not escalating with China, at least for now, because as I said quite a few times before, man, superpowers, nuclear superpowers should always talk. It's necessary to make sure that there is no catastrophic misunderstanding is taking place. RT is reporting that ex-CIA boss gets Ukrainian cell phone firm directorship. Well, Mike Pompeo is taking a seat on the board of VEON subsidiary Kyivstar company. So telecom giant VEON announced on Wednesday that it has appointed ex-CIA director and former US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to the board of directors of its Ukrainian subsidiary Kyivstar. Pompeo is joining the Kiev-based operator as an independent, non-executive director in his capacity as a partner of Impact Investments. Well, whatever his title gonna be, this is quite interesting information. Well, if this, by the way, is not example of corruption, then what it is, really, and what it is. And this is usual stuff, isn't it? US officials, whenever they are leaving office, it will not take long before they will become CEOs or members of the board of directorate on huge companies, isn't it? So I see it as a prime example of corruption. But anyway, RIA Novosti is reporting that, and of course, because we are talking about communications and so on in this particular case, I guess with Mike Pompeo in this company, CIA will also become more significantly involved, and they will probably use all means necessary to track all the communication for intelligence purposes, and not just. Anyway, let's continue. Next big topic is, of course, Middle East, and major development right now for this moment is that this night, by the way, during the nighttime on 15th of November, Tzahal or IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, began military operation in the biggest medical center in Gaza Strip, in al-Shifa hospital complex, and there are many different accounts right now circulating on internet. According to some, Israeli forces did enter buildings of this hospital complex and are shooting and are shooting towards doctors, towards patients, and so on. But also, and by the way, there are reports that tanks, IDF tanks, also did enter this hospital territory. But there are other reports also. There are other reports also that, for example, this one, which is from IDF itself, from official Telegram page of IDF, that Israeli militaries began special operation inside the medical center, although they are, they are doing everything possible according to them to minimize casualties among civilians. So both sides, of course, are trying to, push their narrative, undoubtedly. But well, fact itself that IDF is beginning its operations inside the hospital area, of course, not gonna be received by world community, not gonna be received with world community with understanding. There will be big criticism tomorrow of Israel worldwide, I'm quite sure, because of this operation. RIA Novosti is also reporting that according to statements from IDF, they did manage to establish control over the governmental buildings of Hamas in Gaza Strip, in Gaza City itself, and the many photos and videos are circulating in internet where Israeli military personnel is in these buildings. RIA Novosti is also reporting, by the way, that Office of General Prosecutor of Istanbul in Turkey demanded from Ministry of Justice of Turkey criminal prosecution to begin, criminal case to be opened on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and Turkey to demand from International Criminal Court, which is based in Hague, if I'm not mistaken. And the prosecutor's office of Istanbul is demanding International Criminal Court to begin procedural process on crimes that was committed under leadership of Netanyahu. Wow, just a sec, sorry. Wow. It's 6:30, and this is I don't know how to say it, man. Timer on the phone to wake up. But anyway, when it comes to International Criminal Court, by the way, it's a tool of the Western ruling class, and of course they're not gonna discuss any crimes of Netanyahu's government. That's just impossible. But Turkish security forces, Turkish Interior Ministry may quite possibly begin some criminal case against Netanyahu. That's, technically speaking, that's quite a possibility. Also, RIA Novosti is reporting that Netanyahu did give an order to Israeli army to get prepared to any possible scenario in the northern regions of Israel, especially in connection of Hezbollah in connection of possible escalation, full-scale escalation with Hezbollah. Probably all of you, dear friends, did notice that this cross-border shelling between Israeli forces and Hezbollah are intensifying as time goes by, and at this point, many experts are predicting that risks that at any time situation may escalate in much bigger scale is risk of that is quite high. And third parties' involvement, especially of Hezbollah, of course, will significantly deteriorate situation in entire region, undoubtedly. And dear friends, TASS news agency is reporting that Russian officials did make a statement that they will support, they will assist to evacuate from Gaza to citizens of any country from Commonwealth of Independent States. That's an organization that was created by former Soviet republics. And I believe, by the way, Russia will assist to evacuate to citizens of any country that if they will ask. I have no doubts about that. TASS news agency is also reporting that according to Le Point, that's a French magazine, if I'm not mistaken, these contradictory statements of Macron are not helping, not France, not Macron, not a process of de-escalation in the Middle East, according to Luc de Barochez, head of international affairs in this magazine. And it's hard to argue, isn't it, with this journalist and expert, I believe, because statements of Macron, when one day he's saying one stuff and next day opposite stuff, and when he's changing his opinion many times a week, of course it did not help nobody really. But that's a president that France has. I guess many citizens of France are quite disturbed that Macron is acting this way, but it is what it is. I mean, you can call him to be more serious, but he cannot. He just cannot, man. He's grown up a man, isn't it? If they did not become serious individual with the principles already, then he will hardly change before end of his life. Anyway, let's continue. Polyansky, by the way, deputy of permanent Russian representative in UN, did make a statement towards US and said that if US will continue to seize weapons in the Middle East and send those weapons to Kiev regime, there will be some serious consequences. Yet again, warning from Russia, but at this point, probably we all know that Western so-called elites are ignoring Russian warnings and are not taking seriously Russian warnings, whatsoever. They just don't care. And which is very dangerous, by the way, situation. But anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that Finland's Ministry of Internal Affairs did come up with the idea or initiative to shut down border crossings with Russia. Well, that's quite something, isn't it? I truly find it difficult to understand what Finnish government is planning to achieve or trying to achieve, why they are escalating with Russia so much, and well, I did not find any explanations, because they are harming Finland, by the way. They are harming their own citizens. Yes, they are harming Russian citizens also with their crazy moves, but Finnish citizens also. Why? But I don't know, man. Finnish society definitely has something to think about, because in my opinion, they have quite a strange government, at least to be said. So yes, I mean, yes, if they want to shut down border crossings, yeah, let them do it, but why they are acting this way, I don't know, man. Anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that Prime Minister of Armenia, by the way, Prime Minister of Armenia refused to participate in a meeting of heads of CSTO organization. And CSTO is a military alliance, by the way, that was created by former Soviet republics. So it's a collective security treaty organization. That's what we are talking about. And Pashinyan, during his phone call with Lukashenko, did made a statement that he will not participate in the meeting, which will take place in Belarus. And well, Russian side, Peskov did already reacted on this, and he said that, well, this is quite a strange move, because these type of meetings are exactly the place where sides can exchange opinions and try to find some bilateral interests. But Pashinyan is not interested to improving relations with anybody when it comes to CSTO organization. First of all, Russia. I guess his masters from Washington did give him quite clear orders to totally destroy relationships between Armenia and Russia, and that's what he does quite effectively, one should notice. But anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that Russia and India signed a deal on Igla-S missiles. So India, by the way, will buy and also produce in India under license Russian manpad Igla-S. That's how it looks, by the way. You can see it on the picture. Well, yet another example of partnership between India and Russia, including in military sphere, which is great, by the way. I'm always glad whenever I see some informations about further improvement of relationships between Russia and India, because it's extremely important, these two countries, to have a great friendly relationships, in my personal opinion. Let's continue. TASS news agency is reporting that Rosatom and Foreign Ministry of Hungary signed a graphic of building on Paks 2 nuclear power station in Hungary, and according to time frame, before 2030. Before 2030, Paks 2 nuclear power plant will be built. Will be begun works on this power plant. Sorry, and 2 nuclear blocks will be built by Russian side, which is great news for Russian Rosatom, and also for Hungary, because they will significantly improve their situation when it comes to energy security. So in the beginning of 2030, nuclear power station, this PAX-2, will enter service according to time frame that was signed between the sides. RT is also reporting that Indonesia, by the way, could join BRICS. That was said by presidential candidates. So Indonesia could join the BRICS economic group. Presidential candidate Prabowo Subianto told reporters on Monday during the campaign speech on foreign policy strategy. According to Subianto, who currently serves as a defense minister, there is no reason for his country not to join the group if their move would benefit the economy. He added that the possibility of becoming a BRICS member would not contradict Indonesia's non-bloc principles, as the group is economic in nature rather than political. Well, that would be a great move from Indonesia, isn't it? Indonesia is a very significant player in the world, I will say, by the way, especially in the Oceania region, in Global East, Global South, sorry. And if Indonesia will also join BRICS, other countries from region will also, of course, see it as an example, as a direction to move, well, that will be a great development, and very strong point, by the way, that BRICS is first of all economical bloc, and BRICS is not demanding from its members, BRICS is not trying to teach members of this organization how to live, what to do, and when. And this is a huge difference in comparison to just any international organization that is controlled by Washington, London, and so on. They will tell you everything, man. When to do, what to do, how to do, and so on. And then the world is fed up with this attitude of Washington and some other major capitals in the Western states when they are trying to teach everybody in this world what is good and what is not, how to live and how to not just leave this world alone, man. People with and nations with a history of thousands and thousands of years will somehow decide on their own how to live and what is good and what is not. Let's continue. And RT is also reporting that G7's rational price cap not working, according to Financial Times. Yet again, yet another Western media outlet is basically, I guess, forced to acknowledge simple truth that we all knew for the very beginning, since this price cap was introduced. But for whatever reason, Western media outlets lately are beginning to, under whatever pretext, but beginning to, write about some true stuff also, which is interesting. Which is interesting. And I remind you, dear friends, that Brussels wants to further decrease this price cap. So they are not happy with $60, and they want to impose some new sanction, new price cap on a lower level. So I mean, world gonna laugh for sure, because I mean, if $60 is not working, then even low price cap will definitely not work. And by the way, I will share with you just several sentences. The price cap on Russian oil introduced by the G7 and EU is being completely ignored, as almost no seaborne crude cargoes have been traded below the $60 per barrel limit. The Financial Times reports on Tuesday, citing Western officials and Russian export data. So that's it, man. That's simple truth that we all knew, but for whatever reason, Western media outlets were choosing to ignore, and now later on they are beginning to, you know, share some this real information with the Western public, also public that are under influence of propaganda of the Western elites, other than because there are many thousands and thousands of people in the Western world, of course, that are very well informed. So RT is also reporting, by the way, that hackers claim that world's largest bank was forced to pay the ransom over the cyber attack, which is, well, not surprising, but quite interesting. So Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, ICBC, paid the ransom after suffered a cyber attack against some of its US-based systems last week. Lockbit, the hacking group behind the attack, claimed on Monday, according to media reports. The breach of the country's largest global lender by total assets, which was disclosed on November 9, disrupted some US Treasury market deals from clearing, forcing brokers and traders to reroute transactions. According to Reuters, a Lockbit representative confirmed the payment on Monday, but declined to provide further details. Well, even these huge companies, leading companies in industry, are not safe from hackers, man, and well, that's proof. There are hacker groups that can do some unbelievable stuff on internet. I have no idea how they're doing it, but they are. And RT, by the way, is reporting that Russian currency jumps to 5 months high, which is true. So Russian ruble continued to strengthen against the major currencies on Tuesday, surging to 5 months high. Trading data from the Moscow exchange showed the currency had risen to 90.5 rubles to the US dollar as of 15:30 GMT, its highest exchange rate to the greenback since July 28. Well, ruble is gaining some strength recent weeks. So we can say that all the measures that central bank did made increase in interests and also decisions by government to basically force companies to sell 80% of to demand from companies to sell 80% of foreign income that they have on the exchange market. These steps probably did work because Russian ruble did stabilize and then began to gain back some lost positions. But overall, my understanding is that next 2 months, let's say, before New Year celebrations, because demand on the rubles will be high, Russian ruble probably will maintain position or maybe even become a little stronger. And after New Year's celebrations, things may change and Russian ruble may begin losing some positions again. But well, let's see. At least for now, ruble is in quite comfortable or quite stable. Comfortable is not right word, but in quite stable situation, I will say. And this is it for today's first update, dear friends. I hope you will find this video interesting. Sorry for some technical issues during the recording, but you know, it happens. And well, hopefully you will find this update interesting, and if so, please consider to click that like button and leave some commentary about any topic you like, and for if you can, please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on any of the platforms that you are active on. And if you think this project with several channels are interesting, useful, and deserves to exist in this field of news, and political commentary, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You can see links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.